Hi, welcome to episode 58 of The Corner of Knit and Tea. My name is Laura. I'm also known as Fluffy K on Ravelry, Fluffy Kira on Instagram and Twitter. I blog over at The Corner of Knit and Tea, and that's where this episode's show notes will be. I have an Etsy shop called The Stash Buckler Adventures in Yarn, where I sell my hand-spun yarns. And finally, we have a Ravelry group called The Corner of Knit and Tea. If you haven't come over, please do. So hi, how are you? It is Saturday morning. I am recording a day early on October 10th, and I am super excited to be here. I hope you have had a wonderful week. I have had kind of a crazy week with lots of goings on. Things are kind of crazy at work because we are getting ready to travel for a bit. And so Friday was my last day at work for 2 whole weeks, and I am super excited about that. But that meant this week had all kinds of things that I needed to do to prep. This week has been Spinzilla, so when I get into the knits and spins, you will see that I have done almost no knitting this week and lots of spinning. Let's see what else. We went to the Renaissance Festival last Sunday, which was fabulous. We had a good time, and I even got a little souvenir, which I will show you shortly. And today we're going to play Dungeons and Dragons with our friends, and then tomorrow morning we pack up the car and head out. So just a note, my Etsy shop will be closed starting this evening for the next probably week and a half to 2 weeks, and I may or may not be able to podcast. I am working on some things, and I'm hoping I will be able to, but some of it will depend on the internet situation as we are traveling. So if you don't see me for a week or two, please do not worry. I will be back. It just means that I've had a little trouble. So let's jump right in. Last I checked, the temperature was 39 degrees this morning, so I wanted something warm and wonderful. And I am a little early on the season, but I do love the tea. I am drinking leftover from last year Downton Christmas tea, which I absolutely love. It is a holiday spiced tea. It reminds me of fall and Christmas. It is black tea, cinnamon, cloves, licorice roots, and apple bits. So this was a special edition last year. I really hope they're coming out with more this year. I still have one tin unopened from last year because I went and bought a whole bunch of them so that I would have some because I loved it. And this tin is the one that I bought last year, and it's almost gone. So I am certainly enjoying it, and when it comes out this year, I'll probably stockpile a couple more. I am drinking in the souvenir that I got at the Renaissance Festival. I bought a beautiful, you can't even see the colors so much. It is a turquoise and then a blue into purple into a black. It is a beautiful hand-thrown ceramic mug, and I just couldn't resist. It had to come home with me. So that is a spicy warm tea in my mug on this cold Saturday morning. Oh, I just love that one. It just reminds me of fall and holidays. And although I am absolutely not ready for Christmas and I do not approve of all the Christmas decorations and stuff in the stores, I can drink this tea year round. It is delicious. So let's get to the show. My knitting is anemic this week, absolutely entirely anemic because I have been doing almost nothing but spinning. I did, after I recorded last week, finish the mittens for Roxy. They now have thumbs and they are both the same size. This is the Maze mitten pattern by Tin Can Knits. It is a freebie on Ravelry. They are super simple. It is from her Simple Knits collection, which is a collection that is both wonderful for new knitters and is also sized pretty much everything from child to adult. So I didn't even have to mess with these. I just went with the toddler/child size. The only modification would be that I added an I-cord in between so that when Roxy pulls them off, they don't disappear. And these are knit in Knit Picks Swish, which is their superwash merino. The yellow is canary and the blue is Gulfstream, and they match the I Heart Cables hat that I knit Roxy that I showed last week. That is the only finished object I have for this week. Last week I showed you my Hedgehog Fibers pistachio waffle socks. I have not knit a stitch on those, so I did not bring them back. They will be going with me on the trip, and hopefully they'll be done. Oops, not that one. Sorry. Grabbed the wrong bag. The one thing that I am doing is I am test knitting a hat for a friend. I will discuss, the pattern is as of yet unnamed, but it is a cabled beanie, and I am not very far into it. This is just a couple lunch times at work. I hope to work on this during game today and finish it. It is a pretty simple hat, and then it has a detailed cable panel, which you can only see a very, very little bit of, and I am having problems showing it towards center. That is sort of where we're starting. So as you can see, I only have a couple inches. This is knit in my leftover Knit Picks Shine, which is the 100% superwash merino in Canary. And this is, even though it's an adult size hat, I am going to put it in my donation box for the hats that I donate to a local school for children who do not have very much and may need a hat for the winter. So my plan is to hopefully finish this hat today, take pictures. It will be up on my Instagram, and that is the plan, since I will spend several hours knitting today. So, and that is living in my Kimmy Knits mustache bag that I love. So that is it for knitting. I really wasn't lying when I said I have done no knitting this week. That is because I have been obsessed by spinning. I am spinning on Team Luette for Spinzilla, which is the National Needle Arts Association competition to see who can spin the most in a week. And it is also a fundraiser for their national charitable causes to support the fiber arts. I pulled out a whole bunch of braids and showed you last week. The first braid that I showed you was, or it wasn't actually a braid, it was a ball of roving. It was Luette in Northern Lights, which is their wool, their dyed wool top. And it was in the Ocean Waves colorway. And you have seen this one before because I have spun this. This is one of the colorways for my shawl, which will be releasing very shortly. And I spun this one. I got 375 yards of a fingering weight yarn. So that one is up and in the books. That was my first spin. I started this on Monday and I plied it on Tuesday. So it was actually a 2-day spin, which, as you know, for me is pretty darn speedy. The second spin that I undertook, I started on Tuesday night, just a little bit, and I finished it and plied it on yesterday, and it is still a little bit wet. It is the contrasting color for the shawl, for my shawl. It is the Luette Merino in Quaddy Bay Gray, and I haven't quite counted the yardage on this, but I'm guessing it's right around 300 yards of fingering weight. And these two I went ahead and spun because these are going to be a giveaway. The fiber was generously donated by Luette, and I went ahead and spun it up, and these are going to be a giveaway for my shawl. So keep an eye on the podcast. That will be coming up very shortly. And you will have, I've already decided there will be like 10 days to 2 weeks to be able to enter to win these. So there will be plenty of time. And that is what I've been spinning this week. Like I said, that is 375 and about 300 yards. And I am super, super thrilled with that. The third spin this week I did mostly on Wednesday. Wednesday night is my knit night and I go out with friends, and I had been planning to go to knit night because I'll miss the next couple while I'm gone. And then I started to feel a little guilty about not spinning. So I got out my Kundert spindle. This is one of my favorite spindles. It was my very first. It is kind of a medium weight spindle. It's not the lightest if you're going for lace weight, but I like it. It's a good middle of the road spindle, and it's just beautiful, and the craftsmanship is amazing. I will put a link to Kundert spindles. They are a good kind of middle of the road spindle. They run anywhere between about $30 and $50. So I feel like you're investing in a good tool, but you're not talking like Bosworth price or Golding price or some of those really more expensive spindles. I have a nice spindle collection. I did start spinning on a spindle and did that for several months before I moved on to my wheel. I must admit that these days my spindles don't see much action at all. I really enjoy it, but I just don't do it that often. On the other hand, Ply magazine is doing the Ply Away retreat here in Kansas City in April, and I'm super excited about that. And Abby Frankmont, who is a master of the spindle, will be coming and teaching a class. So I think I'm really going to get my spindles out and try and get into that class. I'm hoping I can get in because I would love to be taught by her. Actually, when I learned to spindle, I used her book, Respect the Spindle. So I pulled out my trusty spindle and 1 ounce of Poonies that I had gotten as a freebie from On the Round with another purchase. And they were kind of, they were a bit of everything and the kitchen sink. I know there's some merino, some alpaca, there was a little bit of Firestar, there were a bunch of different colors of things, and it was all kind of modeled, and I went ahead and spun it up on my spindle. I actually ended up plying on my wheel just because that was faster, but I did about 1 ounce of singles on Wednesday between my lunch hour and knit night, and this ended up being 103 yards of 2-ply, and that's a little under 1.5 ounces. So pretty consistent with the weight that I have been spinning. I will say, so I love the way bats look. And I think textured yarn is really cool looking. That said, I think I enjoy a smoother spin. This is really nubbly. There was all kinds of stuff in there to make it kind of a little bit of a textured spin, and I really prefer smooth spins. So this was a good exercise in getting a little bit out of my comfort zone. It was good that I got some extra spinning in, and I enjoyed the process, but at the same time, I sort of understand why I don't spend a lot of time doing bats and on my spindle. So that was my 3rd spin for the week. My 4th spin is currently on the wheel. It is a braid that I showed you. It is Southern Cross Fibers in Bond Merino Silk, and that was in Lady Gray after the T. And it is blues and greens and some browns. And I am halfway through the singles. I am hoping to speed through the rest of my podcasting and work on that this morning and then hopefully ply this evening. And that will be my final yarn for Spinzilla, because we are leaving tomorrow, and I decided I made the decision that I am not taking the wheel with me, even the mini spinner, because I have some other projects that I'm going to work on, and actually I'm going to talk about that in just a little bit. But I decided that even though Spinzilla goes tomorrow as well, I am going to finish up. So my sort of comments on Spinzilla are that I've had a blast spinning this week. It was probably not my best choice to do it the week right before we leave. I haven't packed at all. I have set aside all the knitting and all the charging cables and those kinds of things, you know, the important stuff. But I haven't done anything about clothes. I am trying to also get some laundry done today so that this evening I can pack. And it has just been kind of an overwhelming week. The other thing I will say about Spinzilla is I am in awe of all of the other spinners who are spinning for Spinzilla. When I joined Team Louette, I wasn't aware that they came in 3rd last year, and they are really ready to spin for all it's worth. And one of the women on the team actually won for the most yardage spun by a single person last year. So we actually have some heavy hitters on the team, and frankly, I feel like I have not done enough this year. I have been spinning probably 4 hours in the evening, basically from when I get home from work to when I go to bed, and I've been staying up for some of that. But I just have not gotten the yardage that I would hope for this year, although for me, this is actually a pretty... So I normally spin about 1 skein a week, and I'm probably going to get about 3.5 skeins, almost a pound done this week. So that is super exciting for me. And I feel like I wish I could have done a little bit more to help out the team. So I think for next year, I'm going to have to plan a little bit differently and maybe hope to take a vacation day or two during the Spinzilla week so that I can do nothing but spin. Because some of the people are churning out a huge volume, and I feel a little bit like I'm holding the team back. So, and that's not the best feeling. But I have had a blast doing it. I will probably definitely do it next year. I just don't know exactly. I might let my spot on Team Luette go to someone who is going to produce a little more than I do. So those are my thoughts on Spinzilla. I'm going to take a quick drink of tea. And then normally that is the end of the podcast, but I decided since my content is both a little light and I'm getting prepared to be gone, I thought I would talk to you a little bit about what I'm going to take with me while I'm gone. So the first thing is tea related. I have a huge box over here in the corner of tea samples, and that is stuff that people have sent me. That is stuff that has arrived with other things that I've ordered. Some of it was from the tea festival that I went to this summer, and all of these samples have been sitting in this box, and I decided that I am going to take a whole bunch of samples away with me, and I'm going to try them on the road. A lot of them are tea bags. Some of them are single shot servings of loose leaf tea, and I'm gonna take my little ducky with me to strain that, but I figure it's going to be quite chilly where we're going. It's north of us, so it will probably be anywhere between 10 and 20 degrees cooler than we are here now, and we're in the 50s and 60s here, but that means that that's going to be like 40s and 50s, so it should be a little chilly, perfect for a warm beverage. So I have smashed as many tea samples as I possibly can into this little container here, and I am taking these with me to try on the road. I will not be doing in-depth reviews of them like I do of most of my teas on my site, but I thought I would do a little tea recap or tea cap on my blog of the things that I try while I am gone. So if you don't follow the blog and you want to see a little bit more about the tea that I am drinking, I will be doing a few photo posts. I will also probably be posting kind of the daily tea on Instagram as we travel around and I make cups of tea in gas stations and various other places with my supplies. So this is my tea pack for my tea cap while I am on the road. And this is actually a container from Harney & Sons. I ordered a few empty containers for if I wanted to store some of my stuff in kind of canisters. And it worked out perfectly to just shove as many tea bags as I can in there so I can use those on the road. So I have basically 3 projects that I am taking with, well, 4 projects that I am taking with me on the road. The first and most important is that I am going to be knitting a couple charity blankets while I'm on the road. And several months ago, Webb's boasted a yarn sale. This is Ella Rae Classic Superwash Heathers. It is about 220 yards. I would very much, it feels a lot like basically Cascade 220. And I got 4 balls in this heathery sky blue and 4 balls in this fun green. So I think I'm going to do some chevron blankets. These are small blankets that we are going to donate to the local children's hospital for kids who are in the hospital for longer periods of time, sort of on a more long-term basis, and they like to give the kids a blanket of their own. A lot of people participate through Project Linus, but our local hospital will take donations. So my husband and I are both getting in on it. I am knitting a couple blankets, and he bought a bunch of those flannel blanket kits to like cut and tie the knots, so he's doing some of his. So in the car, I will be knitting these blankets. I am contemplating doing maybe a chevron style and maybe a mitered square. I haven't entirely decided, but I have 1,600 yards and I hope to make it all go away on our trip. Wes mapped it out, and theoretically we're going to be driving for 96 hours, and that doesn't include construction or anything else. That's just like the route that we're going to take, and obviously we're not going to do that all at once. We're definitely going to break it into smaller chunks, but I should have lots of knit time in the car, so I am bringing those blankets, and that is my main project. Another project that I am bringing with me is for the craft fair, which is coming up in November. As you remember, in years past, I have knit a whole bunch of these mini mittens to sell as Christmas ornaments. And for these, I pretty much use leftover bits of hand spun, just things that I have left over from various projects, and I try and combine bits and pieces of different hand spuns so that I get some beautiful mittens. And one of the things that I love about the mini mittens is that almost no one is the same as another because I am using up little bits of leftovers. These are ones that I have done in the last couple months, just here and there. They take me about 45 minutes a piece. So what I did was I wound up, if you remember last year, I replied some scrappy skeins that I had made from all kinds of leftovers, and I used one of those to knit mittens last year, and so I wound up the second skein to knit mittens this year. And this is just little bits of leftovers from all my bobbins that I plied together. And actually last year, I did an exercise where I replied it to ply it a little bit tighter and was much happier with the yarn I created. Based on the weight and approximate length of this, I think I can get between 10 and 15 mittens out of this. And I also have a bag of little bits and bobs that I may combine with this, because I'll have enough for the cuff, but not the whole mitten. My plan is to try and knit one mitten a day while we are gone, so I come home with 14 new mittens, which will be able to go to the craft show this year. As I said, these are small projects. I could do these before bed each night or when I need a break from the blanket. So that is coming with me this year to work on. The third project I'm bringing with me are the hedgehog socks. I figured socks are good for anywhere, and I have that one I have one sock half done, so I will count those a quarter done, but I am hoping to bring those socks with me and finish them while we are out on the road. So, of course, because the knitter is always worried that she will run out of projects, because two 800-yard blankets, a bunch of mittens, and a pair of socks is certainly not enough for 2 weeks. I did go ahead and put together another sock. I am using my Halloween bag, which I love, love, love this little witch. This is a bag from Kicks and Giggles, which is Kim. She is on Etsy. She does beautiful bags. And also, if you find a fabric you like on Spoonflower and send it to her, she will turn it into a bag for you for a custom fee. So I love this bag, and I pulled it out because, of course, it is Halloween time. I have in here some Halloween sock yarn. This is Post sock yarn from Simply Socks. Yes, from Simply Socks. And this is their house yarn, and I have been eager to try it because it is 75% superwash Corriedale wool and 25% nylon. This is one of the colors that they released this year for Halloween. It is called Ghost Town. And it is reds, kind of a maroon, burgundy into black, oranges, and a pop of turquoise. So I wound this up to take with me. If for any reason I run out of knitting projects, that will be there. A sock project is usually pretty easy because it is just a ball of yarn. Actually, I do have a second ball of yarn in here. I just have some basic black. I am thinking I'll do toes, heels, and cuffs in basic black. So that is the last project that I am scheduled to take with me. I just need to pack up the bag and get ready to go. So that brings me to the end of today's podcast. Thank you for spending some time with me. If this was your first time, I hope that you will be coming back. My schedule will be a little odd in the next couple weeks, but generally I record once a week, and there are 57 other episodes if you would like to catch up on anything. I hope that you have a wonderful few weeks until I see you again. And I will say, as I always do, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I will see you soon. Bye.